says seatbelt.
No insurance on that chair.
Or it could be like the FIFA, right? The north, the row. The row.
I gotta connect to the internet.
The north.
Referencing the North Vikings.
No.
I love it.
Come on.
And then we have a whole sub-discussion about the people who said, yeah, we actually sailed, we didn't row all the way to America.
Yeah.
Made it down the Mississippi, apparently, if you believe the ruins in
Yes,
Illinois.
The Sleep Bridge in America.
We're at 6:30. All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Plan Commission meeting for July 21st, 2026. If everyone's willing to, please stand for Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Then, on the roll call, you ready?
John Chris. Present. Jerry Sandler, present. Chester Good. Present. Joe Samuelson.
Present.
Dan Osborne.
Present.
John Hogan.
Yes, sir.
Do we have any members with us online?
Do not, sir.
Okay.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the June 16th minutes. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed, same sign? Carries.
Mr. President, a copy of the minutes are to your left. Signature would be appreciated as it passed around. Thank you.
Absolutely. Copies, I guess. Moving on, hearings. Case number 2026-P004. An application is filed by Mary England Whiten Surveying on behalf of EMAREE Elizabeth L. Trustee, John and Elizabeth DEMAREE, okay, Family, Irrevocable Trust, P.O. Box, ZIONSVILLE, on a replatting of Shillings, second lot 12 and lot 13 and 15. So,
For me, need a name and address?
Yes,
please.
Name and footprint. Weightman, 1402 East Mishawaka Avenue, South Bend.
How do you spell your last name, please?
Lickner, Epson Frank, L-I-C-K-N-E-R.
Thank you.
We're looking to do a replat, part of lot 13, 12, and 15. We've got a survey, I'm not sure which one they've got. I believe we've got one with the proposed house on it.
You do?
And the existing garage. That garage is existing, it's still out there. There is a note on here that it's grandfathered in, being over the setback. Existing structure is exempt from current setback requirements. If they leave it, they were planning on leaving it. You have the house on there, the proposed house. There was going to be a, I think it shows it right there on there.
Right here. The top.
There's a, get that house in there, there would be an encroachment from setback. I think they would wait to see if they could go for a variance to adjust that setback there.
Yeah, because we would just be doing lots and then.
Yep.
You'll see the BZA for that
Yeah,
area.
that's why I kind of brought this existing conditions one, just so you guys know that house is not out there yet.
Thank you.
And then I'm available if you got any questions or concerns.
The lot imageries in the back, I've also put it on the screen for you guys if you'd like to see it.
It's almost the same layout as that, we just split half of lot 13. It's almost the exact same layout as up there. That line just adjusted very minimally.
Any questions? Yes, it's simple replatting today. We appreciate that you're giving us the information about how you want to do the layout of the house, but for us, it's just going to be that you're kind of
Yeah,
combined
I
and just made
understand
everything
that.
easier, so.
Yep. See
Much
what you got to
appreciated.
look forward to.
Yes.
Is there anything else from you?
Not right now, if somebody has any questions.
Do I need to leave these copies with you guys?
We
or
do for
send it?
for signature?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Pending vote.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do I sit down for this one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. President, would you entertain a motion for public hearing?
Yes.
Is that the next thing?
Mhm.
I so move.
Second.
All those in favor of opening the public hearing?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Anybody have any questions, comments, concerns?
My only question would probably be as far as the size of the lots that are created by splitting that,
It's going to be one lot.
all of them on lot.
Yeah. So it's just one continuous lot.
That's great.
Is there anybody online?
Nobody coming off that I can see.
Okay. Give it a little bit more time. Not too much.
Yeah, just one individual, nobody coming on.
Okay. All right, now I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. So it seems like it's generally they're cleaning up because they've already, it's a house on 3 lots as it stands right now, so it's just kind of cleaning up the lines and making it one. Kind of a cool arrow shape.
It's just out of curiosity, is the odd lot at the end, is that lot 14 then?
Yeah, 14 at the northwest end.
I'll entertain the motion.
We've approved the, what's going on? Move that we approve this proposal, and I'd like the chair to insert the exact name.
Okay. Do I have a second? Second. All right. All those in favor of approving replatting? Aye. Aye. All those opposed? Carries. Thank you very much.
And we will leave a copy. Do we want to go ahead and sign this so you can submit it? Would that be?
Yeah, if it's
We're from
just
the
for
area.
replat as it is, because.
Yeah, we're from the area, so we can just drop it off.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, sir.
All right, new business. Moving on to resolution number 2026-001. A resolution of the Town of Culver Plan Commission recommending amendment to the Town of Culver zoning ordinance, Article Development Standards, 300. Access dwelling unit general standards establishing accessory dwelling units, or ADUs as they will be called, regulations. And do we want to read that in minutes, or?
I think that we don't have to read it in its entirety into its minutes. I think there are a couple highlights, and Don passed this out prior to the meeting, and I would require a vote to add this.
Yes.
The amendment to the resolution, whereas the Destination 2040 Culver Comprehensive Plan at page 92 calls for review and update of Culver zoning ordinance to reflect the goals of the comprehensive plan, e.g. allowing diverse types of housing options, densities, and mixed use in town, and the entertainment character area, and allowing accessory structures and dwelling units, and a range of lot size, and establishes this as a high priority to be accomplished in the short term, i.e. within 2 years of the adoption of the comprehension plan. I'd like to say number 1 would be right on schedule with that, and number 2, I'd like to add that as a whereas statement at the beginning of the resolution. If you would entertain a vote on that, allowing me to do so.
So have we moved the motion yet in the first place?
No.
Then you don't need, you can just add it yourself.
Well, I will when you guys vote on the whole thing, yes.
Right. I'm just saying, you
Yep,
don't.
absolutely. No, sorry.
Yeah, we just need to make sure that we
Quite
put
right.
that note that we're
Yeah.
doing it.
It would be with that, thank you.
And I just pulled that language directly from the comprehensive plan.
And this will be the first whereas
in the document? Or where exactly will this be placed? I would place that as the second, Don, more than likely, because I would rather establish the town of Culver plan as authorized pursuant, establishing their ability to do so, and then secondly, authorizing it as a part of our comprehensive plan. If that's acceptable, again, I'm not the boss, and that's asking you. Yes.
I still have a problem with this ADU for R1 and L1 zoning districts. This is taken into account that you're creating spot zoning in R1 and basically eliminating an R1 zoning district, single-family units. I think that we should, if we want to pass it, that's fine, but leave out R1 and L1. Put it in for the rest of them, and leave R1 and L1 as they stand. I think that would be a much better solution for, we're creating spot zoning by doing this. And we've been against spot zoning ever since I've been on the board. And sometime in the future, somebody wants to change it, and it can be changed, but we're doing now. But I don't think we should allow ADU in R1 and L1.
Because the one thing I will say about the spot zoning is, by creating this, it is inherently going to be creating a spot zoning, unfortunately, because it's just putting language in that hasn't been there before. So it's new, so there isn't one to exist now, so the first is going to be a spot. And so I see your argument for spot zoning, but for that purpose, we're just kind of getting clarifications down for people who do want to do this as a separate matter for the situation. But I hear what you're saying about the R1 and L1. Does anybody else have any other discussion about R1, L1?
In my view, we're not spot zoning, we're changing the zoning ordinance. Spot zoning, which this term appears nowhere in the zoning ordinance bylaw, and it's just folklore. And maybe tradition. The spot zoning is, this lot's going to be one thing, the lot next to it's going to be another, the lot next to that could be another. This is changing the definition of what is in R1.
But to create the first ADU unit, somebody's going to be like, oh, that is a spot. Because there's no firm language of what a definition of a spot zone is.
Right, because it doesn't exist except in tradition, I suppose.
The good point is that we're just flat out changing the zoning.
We're flat out changing the zoning ordinance.
Yeah.
I might argue, in terms of the term spot zoning, it's a phenomenon, I think, that happens when you have R1 throughout, but out of necessity or want, I would say, we've used R2 to create a similar effect to what the ADU intends to do. A distinguishing factor is R2 allows for exactly what we're about ready to do to a certain extent. And whereas I appreciate your point, Chester, I think that it might actually eliminate some of that R2 being next to R1 if R1 has the ability to do ADUs. I'm not guaranteeing that, but I'm just wondering if that's part of it.
So, am I right in remembering, I may very well not be right in remembering, that the way that the ADUs would be different from R2 is that R2 allows even larger construction. I could put an apartment building on my R2 lot that I couldn't put on my ADU that are one lot.
The two structures aren't bound together like they will be in R1. If that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay. That's my understanding.
And
definition.
for that purpose, just for clarification, for people who haven't been following this, do we want to go ahead and give a glossary of what the ADU, how it's going to be tied in with the existing primary structure and or utilities and things of that nature that are going to be standards going forward? We've talked about it ad nauseum to us, but for people who are kind of
I think it would be a useful exercise in a couple areas if the president will allow me.
Yes,
Okay, great.
that was the concern, is it is a change, and I just want people to know that we're still saying the same thing. We're not we're changing things, but we're not changing anything that drastically. We've been working on this for quite some time, trying to get the language right, so.
Oh, we're gonna stop this from being a motel district with that.
That's how we're looking at it.
Okay, so owner occupancy requirement. Either the principal dwelling unit, the main house or the main structure, or the ADU shall be occupied by the owner of the property as the owner's principal residence within R1, L1, S1, and A1. Therefore, they must have residency on the property, either in the ADU or the primary structure, and declare those structures. Prior to issuing any permit for an ADU, the property owner should submit, or shall submit, a notarized affidavit affirming that the owner occupies or intends to occupy either the principal dwelling or the ADU, giving legal binding to that. The property owner shall annually certify with the town, no later than April 1st of each year. Therefore, there's a certification and a penalty, a civil penalty of $200 per week for each day the violation continues if they do not declare that April 1st. Moving over, we can hit some of the design standards and construction standards, but they are intended to maintain the residency look in compliance with the main structure. Size requirements, one of the things that distinguishes it, to your question, what stops this from being a hotel or motel, attached ADU shall contain a minimum floor area of 350 square foot and shall not exceed 1,000 square feet of inhabitable floor. Parking, can read. One of the things that I asked Bob to come in tonight and talk about, utilities. Accessory dwelling units shall have separate connecting water and sewer utility connections unless previously approved by the town utilities. This is due to the fact that if the connection is shared, it can create massive issues for the residents. Backups. Bob has seen it through and through, had that issue on numerous occasions where one will back up. It causes, if the ADU were to back up and they were on the same line, it's backing up in the house, and it creates a horrific situation and difficulty to repair. So this is something that I think that we defer to on the utilities.
Okay, because that is, to my knowledge, that is a new thing that has come up. That
it is new.
Okay.
And it is in here, and that's why I'm highlighting it. I think based upon the recommendations that I've had with Bob and the utilities, guys that are out in the field, and some of the different references to other ADUs, this is something that is a necessity. So therefore, the separate disconnect required is in there. ADUs are not considered separate dwelling units. An ADU shall not be considered a separate dwelling unit for certain utility or coded purposes. The ADU is constructed entirely within, unless the ADU is constructed within the existing unit, right? And then it's the same. So there's a difference there. The rest is not changed. The only thing that's been changed is the utility clause, making it separate.
And for the utility clause of separation, are they going to be very close together? Like, obviously, a piece of property is going to have a different width.
I'm okay if they run parallel, as long as they're not connected.
Okay.
Because if there's a clog,
Yeah,
one of you gets the other.
because it's just a matter of if you're going to be on separate sides of the property, the dig-up cost is going to be a lot more.
I know it's not a popular decision or thought, but
So is this, in terms of separate hookups, we're talking about detached accessory dwelling units? Let's say a standalone garage versus an attached garage with an
that's
apartment
agreed,
above.
yes.
Okay.
I didn't realize that accessory dwelling unit could be attached to that.
It's in the detached area, language-wise, and then the utility supervisor ultimately has the authority.
Okay.
I just find it open to the public, but anyway, as far as the reason for having the two sewer lines, whatever, I mean, if something did fall, whose responsibility is that?
The owner.
Exactly. So you're gonna try and protect the owner by doing that, or it's at the owner's request, I mean, you would think. Not a requirement.
But if two different families are living in two different places and they're connected to the same line, and there's an issue.
Well, I understand
One of them.
two different properties, but we're talking about ADU being on the same property.
But
See what I'm saying? I mean,
I think what Bob's saying, not protect the owner in terms of billing or anything, protecting the owner from backup, if the system backed up. Is that correct?
Yes, it's not protecting anybody, it's just an unsanitary thing.
What I started to say a second ago, I understand that, and that makes all the sense in the world to me. My impression was that 13 iterations ago, the reason we wanted them to be on the same utility was to prevent anyone in the future from being able to divide it into two independent homes. So
I think we've crossed that bridge.
well, no, we haven't crossed that bridge. The whole point is that they shall not be able to create them to divide them into two separate homes. And so what I'm saying is, if we accept your perfectly reasonable comment about the utilities, what insurance do we have left to make sure that it can't be divided into two homes at some point in the future?
Meaning if there was a connection on the property to an outgoing line as opposed directly to the sewer line itself. So instead of two
If you have
connections.
two properties hooked to one sewer line and it clogs, the higher one is going to win and the lower one is going to lose.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
And also with water, I went to a house because it has a problem, shut the water off, and you go home and the house next door says, hey, my water don't work, so we're coming back in. That is a subdivided lot thing. That wouldn't be so much an ADU.
Right, yeah.
So, John, I think that to your question, I mean, if it was big enough, I suppose, I mean, in terms of lot size and so forth, I mean, it could be divided. And, you know,
That meets our requirements.
yeah, so, I'm like, why would we care?
So why did we care? So yeah, that's an interesting question. So I'm really repeating what we said, nothing but what we said. So why would we have said that? I think because we felt like someone was sneaking around getting approval for two houses somehow. I'm not sure what the substance of it was, but maybe Mr. Berger can tell me why we thought that was a bad idea in the first place.
That's basically the case. It's one of those things that you didn't want to encourage smaller lot sizes. So, you know, you're kind of putting a stop for a future plan commission changing that, because you were making a statement that you do not want to see the lot sizes get smaller in R1, such as what Chester's saying. You're not going to subdivide these things out. I think the other thing that's a little bit different is that this is not going to be two separate residences per se. It's going to be a primary residence and a rental unit attached to it. So it is not, you know, there is one owner that is responsible for things. So like Barry's saying, it's that owner's responsibility to take care of those kind of things. So it's not like, it's not a duplex. This is a single family dwelling with an attached dwelling unit.
So, going back to the language of my friendly amendment, the Destination 2040 Comprehensive Plan, besides mentioning accessory dwelling units specifically, also calls upon the Plan Commission to allow diverse types of housing options and densities, which would mean at some point, probably we are going to take a look at lot size. How many of our current lots would actually satisfy the lot size specified in the zoning ordinance in R1?
I think Don brings up an interesting point, just paying attention to the state and what's happening with setbacks, with lot sizes. There is a call for density. And they're moving that way, and ADUs are definitely on the conversation. And quite frankly, as far as I understand, most of the lots in the town are laid out on 50s.
Yeah, they're
And then we changed it to 70s, and away the BZA went.
But what I understand Don to be saying is, at least one of you is talking in the opposite direction than the other one. So if we want to increase density, we would be making lots smaller than 50 by 100, unless that flunked geometry again.
No, that's exactly what I'm saying, and that's what the state's saying, and people are starting to move that way.
To make them smaller than 50 by
To
100.
make smaller lots and more, allowing more housing.
One of these next door to you where you live?
Well,
So that's not really the standard that we're held to, Chester. I mean, we don't get to do it. I mean, you want to paint your house pink, you can do it. You may not like it, but that's not what the comprehensive plan calls upon us to do. It's to decide whether we like it or not personally.
Why this is brought up? Why are we doing this?
Because the comprehensive plan directs us to do it, and it's started as a high priority to accomplish in the first 2 years of the comprehensive. The comprehensive plan's been adopted by the town council as our governing document.
Recommended by this board.
And this seems like an intermediate step. This takes care of the bigger lots right now. What you're asking for is to make a change as we go to the future. We wouldn't go back and take all the bigger lots and chop them in half, because half the time the house is in the middle of them. But this is a way of getting density without changing lot sizes at this time.
That's right. And really, the lot size would be more applicable, I think, moving down the line to the vacant lots.
New
that currently exist-
subdivision,
That currently
vacant
exist.
lots.
That's right. And it's difficult in disagreement or agreement. It is something that our comprehensive plan was on the forefront of thinking at, and the state is confirming what we thought comprehensively 3 years ago. The state is starting to put that language into bills. And so it will be, sooner than later, I have a feeling we'll be told through statute that this is not an option. That's just what it looks like on the landscape.
And that's kind of my argument, that if you put separate utilities on for each one of these units, and the state comes back and pushes this, then you may end up with 0 outlines in some of those places and dividing that ADU off. Where if you make it a connected rental unit, that will prevent that from happening. I don't know if you want to prevent that from happening, but that becomes that piece that, do you want to control what's there now to stay the way it is and change stuff for the future? Or do you want to see R1 lots divided smaller in the future?
The only thing that I would say is, from a functional standpoint, I'm listening to the utilities department and the maintenance. The second thing I would argue is that if the lot size is too small, in order to sell it, there is a control mechanism already. They would have to come in order to have that for variances. In order to, and that would have to happen post-sale. So I'm not sure the answer to that
Well,
question.
nobody's going to say, is there 2 separate tabs if you split it?
No. So I'm only deferring to listening to the functionality side of this. But again, I do recognize that there is the 2 sides to it, if you will. My expectation is we'll have ADUs more than we will have the other case. I would anticipate that, at least, and I would want them to be functional and not creating issues down the line, utility-wise.
Originally, when this was brought up, the ADU was sounding more like, similar to like a mother-in-law suite, extension of people wanting to put grandparents or other siblings, or kids that don't want to move away from home into a living situation that would be an auxiliary unit, so it's still attached to the home, basically with the umbilicus of the utilities. And they would function as sort of a rental. Some places, when the kids finally move out or the grandparents pass away, unfortunately, the unit would be able to be rented out, and they would already have the establishment in place. And so it wouldn't stand alone, but it served an auxiliary purpose to the house. And now, talking with utilities, I understand where you're coming from of it backing up, but whoever built it is basically saying that we know who we're going to want to be there, if they're going to rent out to other people, and those people throw a whole bunch of toilet paper in. That's
But
kind
my
of
phone's
on
gonna ring. That's why I'm sitting here.
Is what?
My phone will ring.
Yeah.
And
that's the unfortunate
dealing with
thing. Yeah.
it. That's why I'm sitting here. I'd rather prevent it.
And there's,
I know it's not the popular thing. It costs money to do it that way, but in the long run, and I'm not doing it to protect an owner. It's
Mhm.
sure.
The language makes them connected through the declaration of one primary, one accessory property
But
in the registering of. But
it sounds like the forward thought is that eventually this is going to turn into smaller units, so it will be down the line possibly spun off. And that was the situation of, we were trying to do the first step of having it be separate but attached. And I understand we were coming from a utilities aspect, that not probably the safest thing to do, but.
I know it wasn't a popular vote when I walked in there, but
How is that gonna work though, Bob, as far as, I mean, you've got a tap for that address. Now you're gonna have another tap for the same address.
correct.
So how would you bill for that separate address?
It's completely separate.
Like, would they have to go get another PO box or another postal box then?
No, it'll just be attached to that address.
It's just like having a
has to-
sprinkler, it's just like having a sprinkler meter on with the house, basically. You have two meters. You have two meters per house.
But could you direct that one bill to the person who's residing in that structure?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
100%. Sorry to answer.
So like you could shut it off if John's not paying his bill, okay?
So is there a reason it has to be both? Because what Bob's bringing up is a sewer issue. You could require the sewer tap, but you could leave the water single and coming through the unit.
I've had houses that have been split off in the past, and I went to shut water off for one problem, and it shut the neighbor off.
It's not the neighbor, it is the tenant.
Today
That
it
house,
is,
so
today it
it's-
is,
yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
It was part of a conversation that we had about, I think it was more important with the sewer than water.
It is more important for the sewer, because that's
I just see what
That's a
Joel's
sewer.
talking about, where it's the extra space for family is going to cost that much more in tap fees and everything else, plus a utility bill every month for that separate unit where it's not using any water, which has become significant in Culver.
But you're gonna have a minimum where it's turned.
Yeah, it's going to get the minimum, which is $65.
Dang.
Wasn't true. Would that be a consideration of the plan commission then? Listening to the functionality of the sewer, but leaving the water being able to be on 1 meter, essentially is what we're saying there.
I think if you're gonna separate them both. That's my thought, but.
Would that go through all utilities then too, electric as well?
I think you're gonna have to.
Separate
I think you
them.
have, yeah. And the thing is, if the development standard changes on the lot size, how many actually of those are gonna be able to qualify to be split off?
As of right now, not very many, but.
That's what I'm saying. Well, even if it goes down, let's say, was it 70? Let's go to 50. I mean, how many are, I just don't think there's gonna be a lot that even qualify.
See, if I, stop me, this is just, if I built an accessory dwelling unit that was actually attached to the north side of my house, and at some point in the future, could someone come in and get a variance to say, okay, these are now two separate homes, they share a common wall. We have buildings in over town that share a common wall. And they have zero separation between the two houses. Is that a variance which the BZA could grant?
That's a good
I mean, it's
question.
different than what you got at the readings. You got one
I
continuous.
I just created a duplex, right, I'm sorry, it was a stupid question, of course, I just created a duplex, yeah, sorry, forget that about that.
And that's, yeah, not when R1 you're not.
The answer's sorry, my friend.
You
There's
know,
no-
I mean, it's under this R2.
Yeah, you have to use that, sorry.
That's
Got it,
right.
okay, yeah.
That's back to check what prevents them from building a hotel.
Yeah.
That's it.
No duplexes in R1, got it.
I do have one big concern, and I kind of like, a little bit lean toward what Chester said about the L1, because right now, where we stand, regardless of increasing the density of population, whatever, that lake is one of the greatest assets that Culver has. And the more we put around there and put around, you see what's going on right now. I mean, there's so many places now that there's no even access to that lake. And if we keep adding ADUs as far as on L1, what is that gonna create? I mean, I know there's not a lot of lots that are large enough that would make any difference. But we've already got ordinances that pertain to size, that they even have wider setbacks between the homes, according to our ordinances. And we're going backwards from what we were trying to as far as protecting the lake.
I would,
By adding these ADUs to Elmore.
I would ask the question, though, taking a ride along the east shore, looking how many of the older homes have the guest houses on them, especially as you move through the academy area.
That was prior to ordinances.
So of course it was, but what I'm saying, Barry, is we're not adding to any more. I think it's already there. And it's
Oh,
been
no,
there a
no,
long
we're
time
not.
with guest homes, on the east shore especially. I understand your point, though, I mean, I
Right.
do, please understand that, but I think that this is something that's, I mean, they've had ADUs a lot longer than the ordinance, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, if you want to call it that, but I mean, right
Some of
now
them are
you're
homes.
opening up the door though for it. I mean, back then, the door's been closed and now you're reopening.
I think
The
really
way
what
I'm
we're-
seeing it, you know what I'm saying?
the way we were looking at this before was we're actually trying to allow people that haven't been able to stay the system to actually, like, we're trying to address what's already happening, because ADUs already exist. We're just now trying to get a wrangle on the control of how they're supposed to be done going forward, and how people are going to be able to use in the future.
And where they're allowed. You're
Exactly.
looking at that as well.
Yes.
I don't want to miss that out.
And the current, and a question for the planning commission, I think, is that if they were to build an ADU on a property that exists, they would have to be compliant with all the current setbacks that are in existence with the ordinance of their zoning, or they would have to come before the board BZA and get a variance for that. So there are control mechanisms. To your concern, Barry, about protecting the lake, protecting lot sizes, I think there are enough mechanisms still in place to control it and govern it.
But with an ADU, are you required that accessory dwelling so many feet from the existing primary?
There-
Have you got anything, proposed or anything as far as, we were talking about attaching, we're talking about detaching. Have we got a midpoint somewhere where it's gonna be regulated? Because if you don't have that, then it goes right back to exactly my example that I'm showing on L1.
To my knowledge, it's going to be treated like a yard barn auxiliary structure, just somebody's now going to be up to the snuff of living in it. So it's still got to be so many feet from the house, it's still got to be so many feet from the property line. It's got to be treated like you're going to place a yard barn. So it's got to follow all the parameters of how far it's got to be set back from the main building, how far it's got to be set back from the sideline, front yard and everything. It's just somebody's going to live in it, and that's...
It's an accessory dwelling, it's an accessory structure.
An accessory structure, depending on law, it's only required to be so far from your line, not from your primary. Just like garage can be attached, you can have a garage on the outside.
Right.
And you're not required to have 10 feet, 12 feet, whatever, there's no requirement. You have nothing in the ordinance that's gonna state how far that accessory structure can be from your primary structure.
Except that it can't be.
It's got the height restriction, but it doesn't have.
Yeah, but if you're, it's going to be...
I'm just saying, maybe we should be looking at that as far as including what we're looking at later.
I mean,
Speaking with some knowledge about the sewers on the south and west lake side, and knowing that the east side is set up to be the same as south and west, there are some checks and balances, several of which are there's a limit on how many can be put in. I know Southwest is fast approaching that. There is requirements by Marshall County as far as being able to provide septic or sewer, and that is the property has to pass a perk test in order to do it. But if we're talking about property that is currently within within the current conservancy district, that doesn't apply. what we come back to is you cannot have two buildables on one lot. So that would preclude that possibility completely.
That's what, Conservancy District or?
The Conservancy District.
How's your billing set up? Is it on dwelling units or is it, because in Culver, our debt service is based on dwelling units
It's based on
in town, I should say.
The primary structure, okay, and you cannot add a building on that property.
Right, because it would
And
count,
then-
it
and
would
then
count as
count-
one and you'd have to come back for renegotiation because
Yes.
of one building.
Yes.
Correct.
So from that aspect, I can say Southwest is covered that with certainty and with a fair degree of certainty on East Shore, since I understand that they're set up the same as Southwest is.
So just clarifying my understanding of how the conservancies work. So these existing lake houses that also have like an existing guest house, is that 2 slots then?
No, that's one.
Okay.
Because they were put in, they were set up that way prior to the creation of the district.
All right.
So if someone wants to build something on the property, they can't.
I suppose it's.
Without sectioning, without replatting.
Mhm.
They'd have to replat the property in order to do that. Which we've got rules that would not allow that.
Would that be also be the case for, say, a tear down? I'm going to build a primary, and I'm going to build a guest house or ADU. Do I have to have 2 slots then for the conservancy purposes, or is that one?
In the case of a tear down, where there's just primary only, you couldn't add a secondary. In the case of a tear down where there was a primary and a secondary that was grandfathered in because it was there before the creation of the district,
Okay.
then you could. But we have to remember that for purpose of demolition, you're going to have to shut off the primary. And if you're shutting, and if you have two lines going in, shutting off the primary, you have to completely shut off the pump.
Yeah.
I mean, you just can't cap it where it is. You have to shut off the pump.
So what you're saying is basically if this passed, as it stands right now, covering the Lake District, going forward, it's going to have everything grandfathered that's already existed,
Yes.
and it's going to be treated just the
Yes.
same.
Yes.
So in essence, it's just cleaning up all wording about going forward, they're not going to be able to build. That's not in ours, that's how your district is looking at it for that. So, I mean, for anybody who's concerned about trying to wrangle it in, it sounds like just covering where they can
Now,
send their stuff.
Now, I'll throw in one little other caveat. If there is a property that's within 300 feet of the district, or contiguous to the district, but not in the district, if they can't pass a perk test, we have to take them. But they first have to prove that they can't pass a perk test. All right, but that's for properties, let's say, in some cases on the non-lake side of West Shore or South Shore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got it.
And then that issue comes to adding to the 175 that we have, that we're approaching, but not yet at.
I know you're flirting with it, but
Does the 175 come just from the structure of the district, or is there some state?
That was how it was designed. When it was created, there were 175 parcels.
So it's a capacity thing.
We're close to capacity in terms of numbers.
big weekends you go over.
In terms of usage, we will go over occasionally, but we haven't gone over with enough frequency yet.
2 days in this year so far.
Yeah, yeah. And there's some clauses in there about the number of times that we go over capacity.
I was going to say, if I remember correctly, wasn't there some kind of retention area for days where it goes over? I thought there was a fail-safe put in, because when we were talking about the East Shore and they were getting put into the system, I thought there was 4 heavy flow occurrences, something to make sure the system wouldn't get jammed up on the way across town. Okay.
The closest thing that I can think of to that is
Lift station volume,
Yeah.
but
is the former Ursay property with the pool house. We required and we created a separate rate category for the pool because of codes and turnover rates and water and backwashing and so on and so forth, that it was possible that they could exceed the rate with which we could accept it. So they had to have a separate holding tank put in for those purposes.
Okay.
Backwashing or completely draining it. And that covered both pool and the hot tub that's inside. Both of those are inside the building.
So you got the other following up, is you got hot rate, but you're still under L1. And you got both sides of that now.
Well, I can tell you this, that there are currently, I believe, 3 properties that are on West Shore Circle that are in the district, and all 3 of them had to petition to come in. And that was when we were down like at 160 some odd.
So, to clarify, the F1, we really are talking about detached accessory dwelling.
Yes.
Okay, so that would be something just to clean up. I mean, we kind of snuck in there with the taboos, but I think that's a holdover from a previous iteration. But I just put in detached accessory dwelling units shall have connected.
I will add the Weightman attached.
And then,
Yes,
my other question is, okay, town utility departments, the conservancy is one thing. Town is the town, and then there are those of us who don't live in town and are not part of the conservancy. And so, would this provision really have any force and effect outside the town limits, is my question.
Would it by virtue of the fact that it's within the zoning boundaries, everything that you're speaking of is within the zoning boundaries?
I guess, my question is, and this is not about Bob Porter, the individual, my question is, what authorities does the utility department of the town of Culver have outside the town limits? Well,
within the Conservancy District?
Does that work? Or not the Conservancy District, for those of us who are not? It's a question.
And it's a fair one. And the same thing would go for F2.
So,
Utility connections and surface installations shall comply with all applicable town utility standards and ordinances. Well, but the minute you leave the incorporated limits,
Then none of them are applicable.
we've just lost our teeth in terms of jurisdiction, and enforcement done, and you make it, that's a great point.
So I guess what I was saying is if we decided that this was an important thing to do, I think I might just strike the reference to town utility departments.
I stopped at that
It's going to be
connection.
separate.
I put a period after connections on that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then utility connections and service installations shall comply with all applicable and county utility standards and ordinances, because they do have.
Right. And if you're in town, then the applicable standards what it is.
There it is. Okay.
So
Appreciate
that is a
that.
drafting thing.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
So just so I'm looking at something here. So under F1, if someone were to move this, which we should have done 25 minutes ago, we'd be moving.
Yeah, but go.
So it would say, F1 would say, detached accessory dwelling unit shall have separate connecting water and sewer utility connections, period, in a sentence.
Yes.
And then in F2, utility connections and service installations shall comply with all applicable utility standards and ordinances.
County.
Well done. No, I think applicable utility standards and ordinances allows the conservancy to have.
So no-
And that would also cover like
Conservancy, town.
IPSCO,
Well done. Well done.
or, I don't know about cable,
Oh, good point, yeah,
you know,
right. Fiber, whatever it is.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. There's standards that would apply. It's-
Back to F1, so I've got mine as well. It's
Yeah.
attached accessory dwelling? unit?
Yes.
Detached.
Detached.
Detached, okay. That's what I was like,
Yep.
am I hearing it right?
With the addition of the amendment as the second whereas, and those modifications to paragraph F that we were just talking about, I'd like to move the resolution number 2026-P001.
I just have one more question.
Oh, you can have a question.
Okay.
Seconded.
My question is going back to B. What do we mean by principal?
Back to B.
Like B1, he is a principal dwelling. Or the ADU shall be occupied
I think it's
as
because,
the principal's residence.
So you want to say primary resident principal?
Well, I'm just asking for clarification what that means. So if I own a property here in town and I spend 6 months and 1 day in Florida, am I precluded from having an ADU? Or we just mean that the owner of the property lives there? We're not really doing a bed check every night to see how many nights the owner lives there.
Yeah.
That's what I was just trying to get at, is what we mean by principal.
I'm sorry, you're talking about principal residence rather than principal dwelling.
Yes.
Yeah. Would you be more comfortable with language of primary dwelling unit or the ADU?
I just want to make sure we're talking about.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about you have to be a legal resident of Indiana.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, heavens,
I
no.
don't think so.
Because
but-
you have, I think here, Don, you're talking about, you have two structures on the same property.
Right.
One is going to be declared primary, one is ADU, and you're going to live in one of them.
That answers my question.
But if you're more comfortable, I'd like to leave it principal.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So,
but we are meaning that the person who owns the property that is going to be ADU
Yes.
does reside there.
Yes.
no, that's exactly what you don't mean. Reside means that that's the place to which you intend to return, from which you can vote, and all those other things. And we aren't requiring that at all. A person could be a legal resident of, let's say, Florida, for the sake of argument, vote in Florida, intend to return to Florida, and still live in the big house.
They own those properties.
Yeah,
That's what, we're talking ownership here, not residency.
There you go.
Right.
Well,
That's
That's
just to
ownership.
clarify, there's two different types of residences
Yes.
on the same property.
Yes.
yeah, I understand. I'm just saying that we want to avoid the language,
Right.
which is what you said, we want to avoid the language that suggests that that's their legal residence.
Yeah.
How about keeping R1 and L1 out of ADU? Simplify a lot of things.
All right, so Chester, you making a motion, putting it on the floor about that?
We can't amend, we haven't seconded the original motion.
Okay.
Perhaps no one can.
I'll second it.
Can you remind us what the initial?
So the motion is to move resolution number 2026-P001 with the added amendment as the second whereas, and with the changes I mentioned a few minutes ago in F1 and F2.
Which are specifically, again?
So in F1, to add the word detached before accessory dwelling units, and then a period after the word connections, so that it says detached accessory dwelling units shall have separate connecting water and sewer utility connections, period. And then in subparagraph 2, well, clause 2, to strike the word town, so that it would read utility connections and service installation shall comply with all applicable utility standards and ordinances.
Okay, now, back to F1.
Yes, sir.
At the period after connections,
Yes.
what happens to unless previously?
Strike all.
Strike it. That's.
Strike everything after connections, yes.
Okay.
And to go back to B1, what was the exact language you were looking for?
So,
Versus
what
primary.
did you guys settle on a solution to?
Yeah, we're leaving the word principal dwelling, understanding that principal means ownership, not residency.
Do we need to add a line for that?
Nothing, there's nothing that needs to be done there. We're leaving the word principal, there's no strike through, so we're good.
My suggestion included in
You're up
On a
next.
second, yeah, for this as it is.
So, moved by me, seconded by Mr. Replat, I think. And then it's fair to have an amendment, Mr. Replat? Sorry.
Are you making a motion to amend that we strike R1s and L1s from this?
yes.
All right, so we're voting.
Okay, so if he's motioning that, then does there not need to be a second?
That needs a second, yes.
Yeah.
I say you proceed with the motion that's on the floor.
All right,
Well, we gotta wait, is there no second for Chester's amendment?
okay. If there's no second for your amendment, then we're moving forward with as it was read and seconded. So we're going with details that were already given to us in the striking. So, now I'll entertain a motion, or it's already done. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, resolution 2026-P001 with the amendment, the changes in language.
May I have a signed copy of yours, Mr. President?
Absolutely.
And I will make the small changes that we have, and I appreciate your patience with the language that I put in.
No, I
And the
just want to make sure that we're reading it all right.
I agree, and I do, and I appreciate it.
Does everybody need signed on this side?
Yes, if I could, please. And this, again, just to be clear, it's a recommendation to the town council.
Yeah, they
The
can
town
take it.
council ultimately have the vote. Thank you, sir.
And I just thank the board for one thing too, is you have added enough on this motion as far as what you're changing and doing, because there's so much vagueness in our present ordinances that you guys are trying to cover that to the point that
Yeah.
it doesn't create enough vagueness that somebody can do what they want to, just to bring it to court. So,
That's why it's been taking us so long, is we've been trying to
Well,
think
I
of everything.
appreciate it. Not the time.
Now, a little bit of time, Sam.
No.
Here's the good thing,
Not gonna
if it doesn't start working out, we can always amend it.
And I meant this one, didn't I know you.
That'll be fun for the utility side.
No. We waited for anybody to second your motion and nobody did.
I thought it was seconded.
No.
No, not yours. All right, moving on.
It's irritating.
Resolution number 2026-P002, a resolution of the Town of Culver Plan Commission recommending amendment to the Town of Culver zoning ordinance to revise Article 3C-1, permitted uses to include indoor repair of golf carts and ATVs. Another one we've been working on for some time.
Yeah, and waiting for it for some time. One of the things that, if I may, just really quickly, one of the inconsistencies was within C2, we made the amendment, Mr. Gorski's long list of amendments that we had to allow for golf cart and ATV repair. One of the things that was brought to our attention was a desired business in a C1 district. The owner has talked about it. We've talked to businesses. And in essence, one of the things I want to underscore here is that it's indoor repair of golf carts. It's not sales and it's not outside the property. That's the key with C1. That's the distinguishing factor between C1 and C2. C2 allows for sales and property to be attached, outdoor storage, obviously car dealerships, that kind of stuff. Whereas C1 is much more of a self-contained inside business district. Given the fact that the business will occur inside, the repairs are inside of a shop, it's compliant. I want the specific language, it's alluded to within C1 ordinance already with service station kind of language. I think I would like to add this in for clarity and making sure that future there's no interpretation down the line about it. The underscore of the word here is indoor.
Happy to move that.
Okay. Is there any discussion, any questions anybody has before we move forward with this? Pretty much what we've been talking about. There's not going to be any sales, so there's not going to be any vehicles outside. There's not going to, it's all going to be interior, just a repair shop. Anyone wants to be able to do it. So, if there's no questions, then I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Do we need to have a public hearing?
For the amendment, yes.
Okay. So let's do the.
For the resolution, I would think it's good order just for the
Yeah.
recommendation, sorry.
Just to make sure we.
You can have a second.
Yeah.
Second first, then public hearing.
Okay. So I'll accept a second.
I'll second John's motion.
And now do we open?
I'm happy to move
All right.
public hearing.
Now for a public hearing on this, do we have a second for that?
Second.
Okay. Opening a public hearing, all say aye or
Aye.
oppose. Okay. So public hearing. Yes.
Terry Chesapeake, 520 South Plymouth. You said no sales on this restriction. What happens if somebody comes in with their golf cart and says, can you fix it? And they're told, well, it's going to cost more to fix it than it's worth. They say, well, just keep it, I'll go buy another one. The repair place fixes it and they want to put it up for sale.
Great.
Is that
Move it to somewhere other than the streets or in the repair shop. It is not going to be outdoor sales, and that's enforceable in C1.
Take it home to your house.
But
I could
appreciate
answer
your
that,
question.
Bob, or Kevin. If anything like that happens, it's gonna go on the internet. It's not gonna be a wall down there.
Appreciate it, thank you.
And for the record, just because you spoke up, your name and address.
So I'm Jim Hunley, 707 Academy Road, and I'm co-owner of the golf cart repair.
I just want to make sure if somebody's watching this later that they know who spoke, so thank you.
Can I sell a new carburetor if the person needs a carburetor?
If it's sitting inside it on his bench, I don't care. It's, the
As long as
key
it's not
word is
outdoor.
it's not outdoor, because C1 already allows for that.
Got it, thank you.
Who would you argue who bought it?
Pardon?
Who would you argue who bought it? You're saying sell it.
It doesn't matter to me
Part of the
if,
charge
if he's
that
selling
they-
stuff inside the
Yeah.
store and not outside,
Exactly.
C1
I know
allows.
That's not your concern.
Yep, C1 allows for it, we're all good.
Understand,
Yep.
thank you.
Yep.
Any other public comment?
I'd like to ask the question, because I know it was brought up before, you know, I mean, you're wanting to go with the C1 versus the C2. But why wouldn't a circumstance like this as far as golf carts, I mean, you're not having a whole lot of it. Do you open up for a lot of other in-house businesses, small businesses and stuff, as far as putting it in the classification of a zoning ordinance? Or would it have been better having it special use? I mean, wouldn't a special use have been primarily going to that, to where it would become forward for anybody to do it? If you're putting your ordinance in, anybody can do it, anywhere. I mean, we've got it on a small lot, you've got it on whatever for this. So it's making use out of a very small lot in its own use. But as a special use, wouldn't you be better off under a special use for as far as that goes, instead of changing an ordinance to open it up?
If you
in
read,
ordinance?
if you read use, allowable usage in C1, this is much more in line with what's allowable in terms of automobile and
More in
motorcycle.
line with you, I mean,
It's right in line with all of that. So it's not really, given the language that's already existing in C1, which it borderline already gives them permission to do so as a service station, it feels more like a regular use than a special use period, than to answer the question, given the language that's there.
I mean, that's a, yeah.
Well, up to the town council eventually.
I mean, I'm not trying to knock you out. I wouldn't mean anything like that.
No, no, no.
I want to present it to the.
It is restricted to
as far as
golf carts and
If it's been
ATVs.
discussed as far as what the differences are, as far as where you're tightening the rope or not, you know,
Well,
that's all.
yeah, because it is a special use in a certain aspect, but we want to make sure that it's, the language for this particular use is designated. So it is a special use, but we're wanting to make sure it's in there. So if I wanted to open it up outside of the mom's vet clinic, you know, it's still going to have to follow parameters.
Well, you probably wouldn't if it's in the ordinance for doing this. You're not gonna, it's gonna come before for a permit or whatever, and it's gonna be built or used.
I guess I'm not following your,
I mean, it's stated as a use for a golf cart. It didn't say this golf cart. I mean, it didn't say this particular building
yeah,
can use it for golf carts, whatever. If you're
Yeah.
saying that now you can use any place you want to do it, you want to open a business right here on the corner by the school or whatever, and put it on a golf cart.
yeah, but if you're,
Not that I'm opposed to that.
you're already gonna, you'd have to get a rezone for that. And for right now, this is just saying that for a C1, in order
Yeah.
to do it, you have to get the classification of the property to be a C1 in order to make the golf carts,
Yeah.
or repair the golf carts. So, I guess I'm not seeing how you're thinking, like,
No, I'm good. I
okay.
just wanted you to look at it.
Okay. Any other public comment? All right, I'll entertain a motion to close.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor of closing the public comment? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. And now we have it forwarded and seconded, so approval of the resolution 2026-P002 as written. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Carries. Thank you very much.
He needs to sign a copy of that.
Yes,
Oh,
please,
yes.
and
Good cat.
I'd like to make them the master copies.
What is today's date?
It is the 21st. Very quick on the draw there.
All right, old business.
Under old business, I'd like to,
Okay. I see that back there. Sorry. Yeah, it's the golf thing.
under old business, I'd like to just kind of update you on the Fairchild situation. I sent an email around. The case was withdrawn. I did send out an email to Mr. Fairchild and Mr. Schneider after the meeting, the governance of the fill. And one of the things that was mentioned is nothing governs his fill. And yes and no. There is governance of the fill. It is under the county's ordinance, if it's over 1,000 cubic yards of fill, which for a lot size that is 100 by 100, that would be 10,000 square feet, and that is the size of a lot within the county's ordinance. That would raise it about 2 foot, 2.5 foot. So in Mr. Fairchild's case, it would have to raise it up by 4,000 cubic yards. In that case, anything over 1,000 cubic yards or over 10,000 square foot, the county has an improvement of sideline, a permit that would have to be applied for, and the drainage board, Mr. Coltice, would be involved in that. I made them aware of that condition, and they thanked me for the heads up.
Yeah.
Just making sure that there was a clarity of understanding there. Secondly, that being said, with an increasing frequency, I think with vacant lots, this case proved that we may or may not have a deficiency within our current existing ordinance. And I've talked to Phil and Nick from planning up in Marshall County, and there's been a number of cases where we're starting to see, with an existing structure tear down, we take the grade prior to. At what point do we take the grade with a vacant lot? Well, one would assume at the time that it's a vacant lot. What governs how much somebody can come in and fill? If you look at our ordinance, there's nothing. There is nothing. And I think with an increasing frequency, we might find that to be a problem. Because if you tear down, that counts against the height, right? Any fill after that. A perfect example is up at the root beer stand, the new construction there. I would suggest, as painful as ADUs and golf carts might have been or not been, I'd suggest that that might be the next step for an edit to our existing zoning ordinances. But I want to do this judiciously and research a little bit more. If you will be patient, I'll do that, provide the Planning Commission some information, some comps, because I think we need governance of fill. And I think there is some drainage language and things that give us some loose control, but I'd like to be more direct with the language and maybe help guide us in the next process.
You could bring us the wording from the county about.
I absolutely will. I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
I'll be
Because
happy
that would
to.
be a good barometer to start out.
This is something that Nick and Phil both talked to me about as being problematic for them too. And somewhat not aware.
You lower your lot.
Well, that again, if you lower your lot, it is still governed by that principle. And that's separate. Excavation, yeah.
You're saying fill, but what if they?
Well, yeah, it's the changing of grade. Thank you. But in this case, it's more problematic with the fill, but I appreciate the point, Bob. So yes, we probably should consider any type of alteration of existing grade would be the proper way of phrasing it. So something maybe we'll turn our attention to as we move forward. Okay. But thank you.
As Don pointed out last week, there's no more natural grades around here. Where do you define it? You know, at what point not?
Yeah, clearly, I shouldn't say clearly, it appeared to me that the initial problem was if Mr. Gorski could allow him to raise it by 3 inches, why couldn't Mr. Gorski allow him to raise it by 30 feet? I mean, the natural grade was the grade below buildable water line, whatever the technical term was. And everything that happened there, that was clearly not natural. Maybe that wasn't natural either.
Technically, to your question, Mr. Gorski's allowed it. He allowed it to be brought up to the bare minimum of a building lot.
Right.
That becomes existing grade.
But there's nothing in this ordinance that would say that he had the authority to do that, is what I'm saying.
And we move on.
Yeah, right.
Therefore, the need for that clear, and not to bog this down.
Yeah, understood, yeah.
But I think there's time to review. The appeal process and what is in the current ordinance in terms of natural and existing is there. Definition-wise, it is difficult maybe for some to get to, but it's there. But the clarity is always necessary. And obviously in this example, we had issue for whatever reason. Seeking an opportunity to understand what created the issue, to your point, what was Mr. Gorski allowed to do? What was existing? What should be counted against the building grade? And the clarity of vacant lot. But the ordinance itself has a very clear formula for establishing grade. And the footprint is very specific. Never is it in the site. It is within the footprint of the building. And that's the way the ordinance reads. Now, there is confusion about existing grade and natural grade. The word natural is very problematic, well pointed out. And whether or not the building commissioner has jurisdiction to raise a lot like that, or what governs the changing of grade, alteration of grade on a vacant lot, is difficult to find within our ordinance. I'd like to make that more clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd like to kind of sideline some of this right here. We're looking at their ADUs, and I would encourage whatever. Right. But I've been told, and I used to, and I've seen it, but is there now an existing reason that it would be in or out as far as one primary structure on one property? Is there any way that anybody can right now, without anywhere in the ordinance says that you cannot have two primary structures
Within a, what did you do?
on any zoning?
R1,
R1, you can only have one primary structure.
that is correct.
So with an ADU, then it would be under R1 because it's added under R1.
Right, and therefore not a primary, but an accessory
But
structure.
I mean, I know that in the past, there has been two homes, primary homes, put on L1 on the East Shore. We'll bring up names, places, whatever. But I do know for a fact that that was done. But anyway, I know for a reason, you know, who did it that built the, was it Hart? Built that great big conglomerate
Compound?
attaching
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
way around. And that was the reason that was done, because it was only supposed to be one primary structure. But do you have it in writing in your ordinances? I can't find it.
But there should only be one primary on property.
Should. I'm saying, can you find it in your ordinances that would be
For L1, for things other than R1?
Yeah.
No idea.
I mean, reason for R1, after you don't have enough lot size.
You know, I understand, I'm just saying, nothing you say, I have no idea.
Yeah. But I mean, I would like to, as a public statement, I can't find it, and I would like to know that that's in there.
So just establishing a primary structure?
Hmm?
Just
We've already
establishing a
established that.
primary structure. Establishing a primary structure for all the zoning areas.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
One primary structure.
There's also a limit of one. that's what we're
Limited
getting
at
at.
one, it would be one primary.
Well, I think that's,
It would be primary.
with L1 and R1, yes, but the purpose of R2 and S1, right, is different.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
so I think that's what you're referring to, Mary, specifically
Specifically,
L1.
but yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Time manager up there.
Manway 4437.
Thank you, Perry. First time listener, big fan. Anyway, no, I have no manager update other than what I gave you guys. Trying to refocus and move forward.
More citizen input?
He said, hinting. Okay.
Okay. Any commissioner members' concerns or inputs? All right, just want to say, I'm curious to see what happens with Culver Theater as it goes forward. It has been a structure that's meant a lot to me over the years. It's sad to have seen it gone, but I'm excited to see what's going to be there in its place. And then also go support the local arts. This Saturday, July 25th, Art in the Street up in Plymouth. And then Into the Woods is going to be opening in 2 weeks. So go support the arts. Thank you very much and have a great evening.
So what kind of dinosaur bones are they?
First and foremost, let us shut off the recording.
There's a, I was doing that. There was a, in the 1930s,